All right, let's bring in Jim Breslo, the host of the podcast, The Hidden Truth Las Vegas Shooting.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for being here. And we want to talk about the interview. You were able to unpack a lot in just a moment. But first, can I ask you, how did you land the interview with the brother? Your studio is in Encino. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, we felt that to get to the bottom of what really happened, and that's what we're trying to do, is find out the who, what, and where, and it's unbelievable that we still don't have those answers today. But we felt you have to go to the family. And there's only a couple family members that hadn't spoken, and he was one of them. And he's currently facing felony charges of child pornography possession in Los Angeles. And we learned that there was a preliminary hearing coming up. We sent our reporter over there, and there was Bruce in his wheelchair by himself, waiting for his lawyer to come. And she approached him and ultimately offered him a cigarette. And next thing you know, we had him on the show. So that's really what it took.
On Friday, you gave us the exclusive about the interview, and you aired it on Friday. Part 1, Part 2 is coming up the following Monday.
Yes.
What moved you the most about what he had to say?
Well, it was riveting the family tragedy, I think. The father was on the FBI's most wanted list. The mother had told the family that their father was dead. She huddles the boys around when he's about 19, brings all 4 boys in and says, "I have something to tell you. Your father is alive, and he's a bank robber, etc." And you could imagine the impact on these 4 boys to learn for the first time at that age that their father is actually alive. Bruce said he didn't speak to his mother again for 25 years as a result, but he did go see his father. The shooter, the older brother, Stephen, chose not to see the father.
Jim, you discovered a lot of things in this podcast that I had heard, and we read in the news a lot, that also Stephen had 7 cell phones. So a lot of people asking the question, why would somebody acting alone be carrying 7 cell phones?
That's
right?
why there's so many unanswered questions. The FBI is deep into their investigation right now, but that's why we need to keep going this investigation. Bruce Paddock, he basically believes that his brother acted alone. He believes that he broke as a result of gambling debts and the breakup with his girlfriend, and that basically snapped. It still doesn't explain to any of us why you would go and do this. That's why it still leaves open questions, because if he was truly acting alone, why do you need 7 cell phones? If he's truly acting alone, why was there 18 guns brought into the room?
That he had brought there before, apparently, too.
Well,
right?
This is a unique thing.
He had brought weapons in and out of Mandalay before.
This is what his brother speculates, and the brother did a lot of speculating, I got to be clear. But it is his brother, so when the brother speculates versus someone else, you give it a little bit more credibility. He speculates that absolutely this is not the first time that Stephen Paddock had brought guns into the Mandalay Bay Hotel.
So Bruce Paddock talks about the moment he learns his brother Stephen is a Las Vegas shooter. Take a listen.
I saw that, that CNN and every channel had this shooting, and I looked again, and they said Stephen Paddock, and I said, "What?" So I called my mom, and my mom answered the phone, and I said, "Is that Steve?" And she said, "I guess so." And I asked her, was he sick like me? She didn't want to talk about it.
Was he sick like me?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yes, well, one would assume that he's talking about some type of mental illness. Now, he does suffer from spinal stenosis, Bruce does. And I followed up with him on this. I called him about this because I did want to clarify. He said that he was talking about the spinal condition. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not, whether there's a mental issue in the family. Clearly, Stephen suffered from some type of mental illness, but he talked about the pain of this, and actually Stephen did have back surgery. The shooter had back surgery at a young age.
But he also said Stephen was the successful one in the family, the one that was kind of the leader of the family, that even cared for all the boys.
Yes, keep in mind, you've got 4 boys raised without a father, but yes, Stephen was basically the default father. He was 7 years older than Bruce, so he was the father figure. But he said from a very early age, he was about wealth and material accumulation. He remembered he made them pointing to crystals up on the stand in his mother's dining room and saying that those would be mine one day.
Yeah. This is a very broken family, and a family that is battling demons. And I understand you called and you have another interview. You have a follow-up coming up?
Yes,
Tell
the
us
second
about
half.
that.
Well, the second half of this interview will air on Monday.
Right.
And I also still am in touch with Bruce, and I think that he probably wants to reveal more. So there may be follow-up interviews with him. He's got some interesting theories that and information that he didn't want to share with me yet, but he still wants to share.
For people that haven't heard, again, your podcast, again, it's called The Hidden Truth.
Hidden Truth, Las Vegas Shooter.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, right?
Well, we decided that there's certain subjects that aren't getting proper coverage, and the beauty of podcasts is you can go deeper dives into things. So, you know, here we've got Las Vegas shooting, the largest shooting in American history, and yet it's barely covered anymore, and we don't have the answers. So we thought that was a perfect story for us to start with and try and find answers, and we're thrilled that we're able to start finding some answers to the shooting, and really for the victims. We've interviewed a number of the victims, and they do say it's important for them for closure to know what happened. Until we know what happened and why it happened, how can we try to guard against this in the future?
All right, so listeners should check it out for themselves in the upcoming one on the following Monday. Jim, thank you. We should note also that Bruce Paddock expressed sympathy for the victims.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.